So this is the MIDI to clock from Erica Synths. It can either take clock from an analog source or modular source and spit that out through MIDI. So we have a switch to choose whether we send MIDI out, which means this becomes a clock input, or send MIDI in and this becomes a clock output around the system. Whether we're clocking from the input and sending MIDI out, or taking MIDI-Clock and sending clock out, we have a divide output with a switch to divide by 2, 4 or 8, and 2 multiply outputs with mult1 being 2, mult2 being 4, and then 4 and 8 or 8 and 16 on this switch. These are sort of really nice and jammable switches for switching in fills and changing rates if you're triggering bits of percussion or moving sequences with these outputs separate to the clock. We've also got a PPQ set to 1, 4 or 24 pulses per quarter note, meaning that whatever your external device is running on, it's easy to scale this and make sure everything's talking to each other properly. So let's get into an example taking MIDI in, triggering some drums, clocking a sequencer, and then an example after that where we take clock and a little set of multiply divide beats from the modular and clock an external Korg Volca beats. So in this patch, let's use the MIDI to clock or clock to MIDI, taking MIDI from an external device, and this is a synth playing an arpeggio. This is already playing. There's the sound of it. Hitting play. So we have our clock out, our divided out, and the 2 multiplications. We can adjust the divide and multiplication, PPQ of the clock, and whether this is working MIDI in or out. This is taking MIDI in as it stands. Let's patch in a hi-hat sound. Okay, this is in time. Adjustable on that multiply amount. Let's patch in our actual clock out to a sequencer. Okay, this is in time as well. So a nice simple way of taking MIDI clock, getting the clock out, being able to set the PPQ settings, which is pulses per quarter note. Different devices work at different rates, so you can sort of adjust that and make sure you're working properly there. You can start and stop. Adjust this divided out between the divide 2, 4 or 8, clock and 2 multiplications. Nice simple way to integrate everything and keep it in time. So in this patch we're going the opposite way round. I've got clock coming out to this either input or output, in this case an input, from a sequencer that's going to be running in the background. I'm still using the multiply and divide functions, which you can still use whether we're using the MIDI or not, and I'm sending MIDI out, so I flick this to send MIDI out to a Korg Volca beats, and by starting this it'll start up the Korg Volca beats. My first multiply out is playing a simple hi-hat, again adjustable. The divide out and the mult are here. Snare-like patch on this mult. And the divide out is triggering a little FM sound. Again, we can adjust PPQ. This is going to slow it right down because it thinks it's 24 PPQ, even though the device is set to that. Up to 1. Bit bonkers. And then the correct one, which is 4. So if I change the speed of my actual tempo from the sequencer, notice everything's following. Korg Volca beats, the modular stuff on these divide and multiply. Super quick to pick up the time. and fun to jam on those multiply switches as well. So that's the MIDI to clock from Erica Synths. Hit like and subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe. I'm on a little subscriber drive at the minute, and check the Patreon link below if you'd like videos early, ad-free, and you want to go that extra mile to support my channel. Cheers.